Good morning here from Long Beach, California, site of Long Beach City College. It is Memorial Day 2023, May 29th, and we say thank you one more time to all the men and women who have sacrificed for the freedoms that we have, and that is what Memorial Day is about, remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice. We hope we're able to honor those memories with some entertaining volleyball here on the final day of our third event of the 2023 season. I'm Ira Thor. Good morning. Nick England, Matt Prosser along for the ride. Haley Henderson will be with us as well. Noah Chast enjoying a weekend on the Jersey Shore. That's such a Noah thing to do, but I kind of wish I was with him. So he's got the right idea. So we start with an intriguing matchup, two teams that actually know each other really, really well. A lot of personalities that hang out off the court. Now, for the first time in 2 years, they will play on the court as the New Jersey Freedom take on Orlando Southern Exposure. For New Jersey, it's got to be frustrating right now. 2 consecutive matches that they've had 2-0 leads on the upper tier teams in the NVA. Last event was the Las Vegas Ramblers. Yesterday it was the Texas Tyrants, and they failed to complete those wins, losing for a second time in a row in a reverse sweep. Orlando Southern Exposure, well, they come in with just 1 win on the year. They've lost 4 in a row. You saw a little bit of the frustration from New Jersey yesterday. What are their answers today? Obviously against a Southern Exposure team that's not at the same caliber of the Texas Tyrants.
Well, I mean, I think that, especially with my Wild squad, I felt their pain where they'll have moments of brilliance 80% of the time, and then there was 1 play out of every 5 in those kind of clutch moments that they just seemed like there was some miscommunication, and there was just critical errors, balls falling between guys, missed free ball opportunities and things like that that are uncharacteristic, but they're also unacceptable. And so I think that gives them a very clear pathway forward, a little bit of that improved communication. And that's for a consistent squad, sometimes, you know, when you're switching between Sam Schuldenberg, John Cunningham, maybe that control of the back line in a free ball situation, or getting Derek Sullivan in there for the first time, some of those, you know, knowing where he wants to set the ball, finding that location, some of those things are just going to be refined. And when you're in that knockdown, drag out fight in a 5th set, that's where sometimes that the moment gets to you a little bit. So I wouldn't really be throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. I think that's just some small things that, while aggravating, untimely, not really a big deal.
Well, New Jersey is 3-2, still, I guess, based on points, clinging to first place in the National Coastal, but the OC Stunners are 4-1. They have 11 points. It's interesting how that works out, that New Jersey's got 1 more loss, but an extra point. Good performance yesterday, of course, from Joe Norman, but surprising the fact that they were up 2-0 considering the time that it took for Derek Sullivan to kind of connect with the guys. We'll see if today those interchanges are better. Meanwhile, for Orlando Southern Exposure, it's got to be frustrating right now. They actually look improved from last year, yet they find themselves at 1-4.
Well, like we talked about, it was a good loss for them, if there is such a thing, in their first match of the weekend. A very physical team. They are getting better. They're trending in the right direction. It's going to be a tough task, though, today, taking on the size of Team Freedom, because that's an area of the game that I don't think Southern Exposure really matches up well against this team.
Yep. Well, the Tyrants got 23 kills yesterday from Ryan Mather. Started slow. He was a big factor in the victory over New Jersey. I don't know if Orlando Southern Exposure has anybody that can perform that kind of damage. They lost to San Diego in a pretty competitive 4-set affair on May 27th. 2 of those 4 sets went to extra points, including 28-26. Match number 2, the team that right now doesn't look like they're gonna, put their foot off the gas anytime soon. That is the Las Vegas Ramblers at 12 noon as they take on the Philadelphia Founders. Ramblers come in at 4-1 on the year, 12 points, leading the American Coastal Division. Meanwhile, for the Philadelphia Founders, 1-4 on the year, just 3 points. And we saw in their first match of the weekend, without their 2 middles, particularly without Nate Reynolds, but also without Langston Payne, just how inferior they are in the middle overall compared to some other teams.
Yeah, that is definitely a worrisome point for Philadelphia. Today, it's going to be more of the same, unfortunately, for them taking on the Ramblers. It's going to be a heavily lopsided affair, I believe, and the Ramblers just so deep in their talent, their reserves, their new additions to the team that we saw in their match on Saturday. And so really it's going to be another tough task again for Philadelphia today.
I mean, Matt West in his debut looked sensational. Colton Cowell looked even better.
Yeah.
And those were guys that weren't here when the Ramblers were still rolling.
Yeah.
And we barely even got Jalen Penrose on the court, and he still ended up with 5 kills in 1 set. So that team right now has embarrassment of riches at multiple positions.
They certainly do, and yeah, you guys have knocked that one on the head. It's I've been impressed with how Founders has continued trending up this season, but it feels like they took a step back with some of the personnel missing. Also, Ryan Schickling being injured, they've lost that depth in the 0-2 in case some of their passing started to break down, which we did see. And Ramblers really makes it a very simple game. It's all serve and pass, and the pressure from the service line for a team that's not ready to battle. It makes it a very lopsided affair.
Yeah.
Serve and pass sounds like such a simple strategy, but it's a lot more difficult to execute. The Ramblers are executing as well as anybody we've seen in the history of the NVA. They got 1 loss on the year, and looking back, it's crazy that they even dropped that one to the Matadors in 5. I don't see them losing again anytime soon. So that's our 12 o'clock match. And then, whoa, interesting one. We had yesterday the Tyrants against New Jersey is the one that you circled on the calendar when the season started. Who knew that at this point of the year, this would be your 1A match of the weekend? 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern, it is the Texas Tyrants taking on Nick's San Diego Wild. Wild right now, I mean, they just keep getting better as well. Just looking at where San Diego is right now, their only loss in the year was a 3-set affair to the Las Vegas Ramblers. They beat the Blaze and Orlando Southern Exposure the last 2 matches out. Brandon Rattray back in the lineup. I have never seen, in the time that I've been with the NVA, a 25-kill match. It almost seemed like he wasn't even there at times. It was the most soft, quiet 25 kills ever. But you look up, and all of a sudden, Brandon's got 25 kills and 45 swings. I think he had a couple aces along the way. I mean, Matt Knigge, obviously a huge addition back to the lineup. He had 10 kills without an error. When you take 2 guys who are very successful champions overseas, take them from a team that won a title last year in the Las Vegas Ramblers, and now put them on a new franchise, well, that franchise instantly is a title contender. I don't want to let poor Nick talk about his own team because he loves to talk about his San Diego Wild. Have you seen their new Instagram post? If not, I dare you. That's quite something.
1.3 million have seen it. So
1.3. Well, if you're one of the
shameless plugs,
700-something thousand million others who haven't seen it, what are you waiting for?
There's an opportunity still. Don't worry.
San Diego Wild on Instagram, but you saw it yourself. I mean, the pieces that they added mesh really, really well, and the Ramblers are the best team right now, but the Wild maybe making a case for the second best team.
Definitely. I mean, look, that's a great addition to your team. Obviously, you've been expecting them for a little while, and I know that you're glad to have them on your side of the court. In this matchup today against Texas, who's a little undermanned, not a lot of reserves on their bench. They went 5 yesterday. I expect Ryan Mather and Jake Langlois to be a little fatigued from that one. Still very good, high caliber players, but for San Diego, they've had a day off since their last match. And so that instantly puts a huge advantage on their side. I do expect to see a very physical, dynamic game. The style of play complement one another very, very well. It's going to be a fun match to watch for sure, and hopefully we get a good another tight 5-game battle between you two.
What about with the Texas Tyrants? You saw Ryan Mather when it mattered most. He took over that match. And Jake Langlois, who really started very slow, started putting it together late, and he was an X factor.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when you got to prep for that team, you're looking at the service line. It feels like 2 or 3 guys on that team in every facet of the game are arguably the best. Austin Matatia, where he might be sometimes a little bit smaller and plays that recycle 0-2 game front row. Man, he's one of the top servers in the league. I think right now statistically he's like the number 3 server in the league. Ryan Mather, when he starts getting that toss where he wants it, he starts hammering balls. And again, you toss Jose Malero back there controlling the back line. We saw 3 or 4 times he was running tempo overhead sets to his front row outside that even off of a bump set, and it just, teams aren't ready for that. So there's just so much natural chemistry on that team that they can just win through so many players that if you're not ready to go, they'll take advantage of it quick.
So that'll be our 3 o'clock match. That will be Matt calling that one with a surprise guest, as I will be on a plane back to the East Coast, and sad to miss that one. I'm going to buy the Wi-Fi in the plane so we can watch that one.
Better.
I think that's a good investment. Last match of the weekend. Nick West says he never loses to the LA Blaze, and we'll see if that streak continues at that 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. It'll be the OC Stunners taking on the LA Blaze. Blaze looked improved, but they are still the only team now in the NVA without a W on the year, with Puerto Rico upsetting Chicago yesterday. Meanwhile, the Stunners, the youth movement was on display last night as Spencer Olivier was our man of the match in his debut. He fit in perfectly in that lineup. Same as I won't do with Matt. I don't want him to have the awkwardness of talking about his own team, although I think he would enjoy that right now because, man, they're looking pretty good with these young guys.
Yeah, it felt good to see just, obviously Matt was using a variety of lineups, just getting a chance to see who could that plug in where. We saw Tanner Woods on the right, on the left, came in as a serving sub in one of those, or the double sub with the set. And, he just showcased, he's been one of those guys that obviously fresh off that win with Vanguard for the NAIA championship, he's been fitting in nicely.
Woods looked great yesterday.
Yeah.
We barely mentioned his name in terms of the standout. He may not have as big of a name as Olivier, but he finished with 7 kills and 10 swings.
Yeah.
He had basically at a 70% rate. No errors, great effort for Tanner Woods.
Absolutely. And one of those things we saw Olivier 2 years ago as a junior, or in his 4th year of eligibility playing with Nikolov at Long Beach, he really was able to take kind of a backseat to the offensive load that he was carrying, and it looked very natural in this past season without Nikolov on that roster. It was there was some situations that he was trying to find his footing along with that team, and it was so great to see him able to slide back into that 0-2, put the offensive burden on Corey Chavers, because I think that's where Olivier is really going to succeed, and he just had a performance that I think many of us were used to seeing from him at Long Beach for so long, and so it was great to see that kind of slide back in, but then surrounded by the veterans that have become synonymous with success, with Nick West or Shane Beamer. Great to see Nacho running that offense again. Just, it felt like we were looking at the team that, the league has just looked to for so long to be one of those pinnacles. And they haven't been in the conversation this season, I think, much to be like looking at the end of the season. But I'm always that guy that says, look, Stunners, come late July, if you're counting them out, you are the one making the mistake, because when it matters, that team will shine. And we started to see that yesterday. Matadors have been giving some of these best teams runs here and there, and they're not ready for it. They were not ready for the Stunners last night, so it was a great win.
That was a quick 3-0 win yesterday. Nick West also had 8 kills. He hit at a 62% pace yesterday and added 2 more aces. So that's 9 aces for him on the season. Leaving off where he finished last year as the top serving middle in the NVA. The LA Blaze, well, Charles Belvin's been in double figures in every match this season in kills. He had 14 on May 28th in a loss to Utah, but the Blaze come in just 1 point on the season. They are 0-5 overall. The OC Stunners still looking pretty good, 4-1, 11 points. We now have a race at the top of the National Coastal Division. I should mention with the Tyrants Wild, 12 points of the year. They are 4-1 on the season. Texas Tyrants, the only remaining unbeaten team in the NVA, now at 5-0 in a year. 14 points. The reason they don't have a full 15 is they needed 5 to go with the victory against New Jersey yesterday. You get 2 points for the 5-set affair. So, all right, so it's time for our picks. And Mr. Jersey Shore, Noah Chast, has made some ground up. 8-0 on the weekend. He was the only one who picked the Puerto Rico Pythons. We thought at the time that he needed to be committed. He ended up showing that he knows really what's going on, and us 3 were the ones that we doubted, and Puerto Rico got the W. So even with that, Matt is still whooping all of our butts. He's 27-5 on the year, 7-1 on the weekend. Take a bow, sir. Take a bow. Noah and I are now tied for second place, 24-8 on the season. I am 6-2 on the weekend. And Nick England is not in first place. Nick is participating at 22-10, just 5-3 on the weekend. Let's see if Noah has submitted his picks. He has not, so there is no proof that he's picking any of these teams. So we're going to pick for Noah, and he's going to take the opposite of who we take. All right, we'll start with New Jersey Freedom, Orlando Southern Exposure. Would you like to go first?
Sure, start it off. That one's got to be New Jersey. I have been impressed with Orlando. Adding in the 2 middles there, that's helped their offense quite a bit. Zach Myers got a lot of upside to him, but I think at the end of the day, I think that Freedom is going to be too smooth, and they're not going to go drop another match after yesterday.
Well, I picked against New Jersey yesterday for only the 2nd time ever, and I, unfortunately for that bunch, was correct. I joked with Carlo Edra that well, maybe 2-0 leads aren't great for you. And he said to me that I'm just going to forfeit the first set going forward, and that way we don't have to play with the 2-0 lead, and maybe that will be their strategy today. Regardless of what they choose, New Jersey's not losing today. So sorry, Tony Glessner, I'm going to stay with my theme on the season. I'm going to pick against Southern Exposure. New Jersey will win today.
Yeah, I think the X factor for this game is Derek Sullivan, the setter for Team Freedom, former Southern Exposure setter.
Yep.
Little chance to play against his his ex-club.
Yep.
And, again, the physicality of Team Freedom for me is head and shoulders above what the blocking defense is going to be able to do from Southern Exposure. So Team Freedom for me as well.
And since Noah didn't make his pick officially, he takes Southern Exposure. Las Vegas Ramblers, Philadelphia Founders. I mean, this one I think is going to be a 3-setter. Philadelphia, again, without the middles. I don't really see them stacking up too well. This will be a 3-0 win for Las Vegas.
I agree. Ramblers all the way on this one.
Yep, I don't think there's a lot to be said behind that one.
Noah didn't make his picks. He is from Philadelphia, so he takes the Philadelphia Founders.
You're just going in on him, aren't you?
San Diego Wild, Texas Tyrants. I think this might be where we have some difference of opinions here. Could be a coin flip. This is going to be certainly an entertaining match. What do you think, Mr. Sir?
Like I touched on earlier, I think the day off for San Diego Wild is going to be a huge advantage in this match. The Tyrants with a quick turnaround after that 5-set reverse sweep. Jake Langlois sometimes in that back-to-back, competition days doesn't quite work out for him very well. Their connections with their setter was a little iffy. They used both setters yesterday. I just think the Wild has too many weapons today, and on a rest day as well is going to be too strong for the Tyrants. So Wild with the win.
And I actually thought that Jake, at points of the match, I thought he actually looked a little sluggish. I don't know if he was battling an injury or not, or maybe he just was a slow starter in that match. We'll see what they get out of him. For this one, I look at it as this. Texas with that short rest, not as short of the rest as New Jersey, of course, playing at 9 a.m. after that long match. I think you guys, with the amount of talent you have, and maybe some others who could make their debuts today, I think that freshness actually matters. Sometimes maybe it's a little overrated to have that extra time off. Today, I'm going to do something I rarely do, and I'm actually going to pick against Texas, and I'm going to pick the San Diego Wild, this one potentially in 4.
Well, then I guess to be the, obviously I'm going to take Wild here, but I think to address the win condition on the other side, I do think that Wild, we clearly, we've trained with a group for 4 or 5 months, and we developed our system, and then we had 3 practices with a bunch of new guys. That system and the way that we're playing the game kind of went out the window, and we did see, similar to how Freedom, as I mentioned, had some of those lapses. I would say that we did as well, and there was areas for improvement. So, that challenge goes out to the Wild guys. They've got to step up. They've got to make some improvements. And we missed 23 serves in a 4-set match. We didn't play 25% of the points. And I'd love to say it's an easy fix, but I'm not sure that it will be. So hopefully the guys are able to kind of shore up some of those spaces.
And since Noah didn't make his pick, he has informed us that this match will end in a tie. It'll be the first tie in NVA history. Final match of the day, LA Blaze, OC Stunners. Noah's taking the LA Blaze. How about you?
Yeah, I think Noah's crazy for that pick. I'm going to go with the OC Stunners here. Saw a great match yesterday and excited to see the little, I call it the freeway series, battle for the 405. And it's been that weekend for the Stunners. First, they look eastbound, they take down the Matadors, and now I think that LA Blaze, and we have the Nick West personal guarantee that he makes it his life's mission not to lose to the LA Blaze. If you don't know what I'm referencing, go check out Quest for the Cup, where I work with Nick West to provide you NVA updates between events. So, I'm not picking the LA Blaze today. Noah might have gone that way, or allegedly, but Nick West, his quest to never lose to the Blaze will continue, as they will win fairly easily today. Not much more to talk about there.
Well, for my guys, I just want to see them continue to get better. This group coming together, getting an opportunity to play again. Every match, the next match is the most important match for our team. And I'm going to take my squad for the victory tonight, too.
So it's unanimous there as well, with the exception of Noah's bold pick with the LA Blaze. So 4 matches on tab for you. Memorial Day 2023. It all begins at 9 a.m. as New Jersey Freedom take on the Orlando Southern Exposure. Las Vegas against Philadelphia in our second match of the day at 12 noon Pacific. Then it's a big one as the San Diego Wild take on the Texas Tyrants at 3 p.m. And to cap the 12-match weekend, it is going to be the OC Stunners in the Freeway Series against the LA Blaze. For Nick and Matt and Haley, I'm Ira Thor. Much more volleyball on NVA USA Today.